Welcome back to Christian Questions on News Talk 104.7 WXLM. Our subject this morning, In God We Trust. To be a part of our program, call 860-442-9956. That's 442-WXLM.
I'm not thinking...
Hey, Rick,
what?
I don't like saying, In God We Trust as a question. I'd rather do it as a statement.
Okay, go ahead. Just
In God We Trust.
Okay. So you're making that plain, huh?
You got it.
Well, Jonathan, in the last segment, we spent the pretty much the entire segment going through the traces of American history and how the God of the Bible was really very important. Specifically, the God of the Old Testament, obviously. Same God, both Testaments, we'll find out in a moment. But the law was very important to the Founding Fathers. And they really worked at not only developing this nation based on something higher than themselves, but they left a trail of evidence saying, this is what we believe in.
Mm-hmm. Well, Rick, we do have a call. Welcome to Christian Questions. This is Jonathan and Rick. Who are we speaking with?
This is Eric from Montville.
Welcome to the program, Eric.
I just wanted to draw a parallel from Israel's history in this regard.
Okay.
You so eloquently put earlier, sir, that this generation does not have a concept of the sacrifice that our forefathers made for the sake of this country.
Right.
I think of a gentleman by the name of Rehoboam. Now, for those who may not be familiar with Rehoboam was Solomon's son. He was the heir to the throne. The problem with Rehoboam is he grew up in a time of prosperity. He grew up in the palace. He didn't know of the sacrifices that King Saul and his son Jonathan and David made to make the nation of Israel what it was. And for that reason, he didn't know the proper way of responding to the people, and thus the nation split. I guess the point I'm trying to make here is this. When you have a whole generation who's raised in prosperity, and you have a generation who is raised very similarly to that of the generation in Judges, where one generation didn't impart the wisdom of God and what He's done for the nation to the next, you have a generation like we have now, a generation that doesn't acknowledge what God has done for this nation and who we are in Him.
Right. Very well put. Very, very well put. Eric, thanks so much. We appreciate it.
No problem. God bless, guys.
Jonathan, thank you. What a great analogy there.
Absolutely.
And it really puts things in perspective. When you don't know difficulty, when you don't know trial, when you don't know want, it's hard to know responsibility. It truly is. Because if everything is already in front of you, it's hard to know what it really now. It doesn't mean you can't know, but it's much harder to know what it means to achieve those things and then how precious those things are.
That's right.
See, we accept the freedom that we have as given. It's okay, it's ours. And we don't have to work for it. We can argue about it, but we don't have to work for it. And as a result, there's a quality that's missing. There's definitely a quality that's missing, and Eric brought out a tremendous point with, and not only with Rehoboam, but for instance, the sons of Samuel were the same way.
You're right.
Too much was too easy, and they were corrupted as a result. Okay, so we're going to be getting back to the scriptural perspective on all of this, and let's hang on to that call for just a minute. All right, let's get back, because remember we were talking about God's promise in the Old Testament. Well, the New Testament picks up that promise, and read Galatians 3:16, then we'll take the first call that's on the line.
Now the promises were made to Abraham and to his offspring. It does not say, and to offsprings, as of many, but it says, and to your offspring, that is, to one person who is Christ.
Okay, so it's referring to that promise and saying Jesus is the offspring. So now we're seeing the development of the promise being fulfilled coming through Jesus. That's an important point. Let's hold that thought and take this call.
Welcome to Christian Questions. This is Jonathan and Rick. Who are we speaking with?
Good morning, guys. God bless. Happy 4th of July, and in God I trust.
Okay.
Hey, Don.
Don from Norwich.
Yes.
Go ahead.
All right. I just want to continue from the last caller, which is very good. And you see, when you take prayers out of school, you get Columbine, you get Virginia Tech, and more is to come. I don't want to sound like a prophet of doom, but you spare the rod and you spoil the child. You get locked up for, beating a child on the scriptures is littered with passages that saying, you should guide them in the way that they should grow up. And when they're older, they will know, where they come from and all this kind of thing, which builds community, it builds family, it builds nation. But getting back to the question, in God we trust, the founding fathers, they read the Bible and they patterned this nation after it. They saw God's mercy to the children of Israel, his chosen people, and you guys have been speaking about passages in the scriptures that are in certain places in the capital and all of that. And yet you have the Supreme Court ruling that it's unconstitutional to have the Ten Commandments, or they had it removed from in front of a courthouse and all this kind of thing. What a double standard. But in this day and age, people are trying to be politically correct. You have gay rights and gay marriages and civil unions and intelligent design and all these kind of things, which is nowhere in the Bible. It's not mentioned. Mm-hmm. Not one word of it. And, continuing on that theme also, Jesus says, render the things that are Caesar's unto Caesar. If you have your laws that govern you, if it's not patterned after his laws, well, woe betide you. Look at any time the nation of Israel, when they were released from bondage, anytime they strayed from God's laws and things, what happened to them? They were visited with pestilences, diverse diseases in diverse places, and tragedies. And that's what's happening to America. We have strayed so far from his ways. We want to be politically correct and not offend this body and that body. And the word is clear. If you're not with this, if you're not with God, if you're not with me, you're against me. There's no middle line here. There's no sitting at the fence here. We just can't pay lip service and, say one thing but mean another and doing a third. Faith without works is like a tinkling brass, I think they say somewhere in the scriptures. And we're afraid to offend the present administration. I mean, I don't want to branch off into being politically, aggressive this morning.
Good.
But they trust in the almighty dollar. That's what they trust in. They don't trust in Almighty God.
Right.
That's why you have the credit crunch and the housing crisis and all these other things.
Don, we need to move on here. Can you wrap it up real fast?
Sure, I'm finished. That was my contribution.
Well, that was plenty. I'll tell you what.
Good.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you,
Don.
All right.
Thanks, Don. And we have another call waiting, and Jonathan, he really covered a lot of the ground in that few minutes.
Oh, he
there.
sure did.
Let's take this next call real quick here.
Welcome to Christian Questions. This is Jonathan and Rick. Who are we speaking with?
It's Don. Good morning.
Good morning.